going to go ahead and get started. And whoever comes in late can watch the video. So I'm Bobby Bainey, and I own a digital marketing agency here in McHenry County. I also teach a number of marketing classes here at the college. So I'm an adjunct professor for social media marketing, e-commerce, and a couple new classes we're testing out coming up here in the spring semester. Hello, welcome. I was just letting everybody know we want to be working on desktop or on laptops. So if you don't have one with you, you can grab one out of the cart back there, but you won't want to edit your profile using the app because it doesn't have as many features available. So what I want to do today is talk just a tiny little bit about why LinkedIn is so important as a college student. And then we're going to talk about optimizing and setting up your profile. And then at the end, I've got some best practices for actually using LinkedIn as a student. And then I want to save as much time as possible so you can jump in, start making your edits, ask me any questions if you've got them. Does that work for everybody? Awesome, and then we'll get you over to do whatever you have to do after this, so we'll wrap it up by 3. So first of all, why LinkedIn? LinkedIn has never been my favorite platform. I always like the fun platforms in social space, and LinkedIn always felt dry, but to be honest, they've launched some really, really great tools over the last year or two, kind of since COVID, but actually since Microsoft bought LinkedIn. But this is a really amazing place for you to really paint a picture of who you want to be professionally. So we use, Snapchat, Facebook, TikTok, whatever you use for that personal image of who you want to be and kind of building and talking to classmates and that sort of thing. LinkedIn is where you're going to build that professional presence. So content is going to be very, very different. The way you represent yourself is going to be the way you would represent yourself in an interview to a potential employer, anywhere that you were looking for an opportunity. What's great about LinkedIn is people can find you. So it becomes a searchable platform. So when I'm done telling you how to optimize, people are going to know what job you want, what skill sets you have, and they can actually come finding you, which makes that post-college job hunt a whole lot easier when they're actually seeking you out instead of you having to do that in reverse. It's also a great way to network. So depending kind of on your age and what sort of networking you may have done in the community, typically as business owners or working for a business, we're shaking hands with people, trying to find out what we have in common, how we can collaborate. It takes a lot of time. I hate these masks. It's the worst thing trying to talk in them. But with LinkedIn, you're actually able to do that networking. You're able to find professionals that are in industries that you're looking to serve in and actually ask questions, do some interacting, follow along with people that are influencers in the industry you're looking to get into. So fantastic way to start creating relationships with people as you're in this process of looking to wrap up college and find your next position. They also have a great feature where they will actually email you job recommendations. So when people are looking on LinkedIn to fill a certain position, LinkedIn will actually match your skill set with what they're looking for and send you an email saying, hey, you qualify for this job. You should fill out an application. Again, really, really helpful in the job search when someone's actually doing that vetting for you. It is actually one of the #1 platforms that recruiters are using nowadays. So there used to be all sorts of different ways recruiters would find talent. Now they just jump into LinkedIn and start looking for people that have the skills they need, the recommendations that, establish that they've got some credibility. And so this is a platform we absolutely need to do. It's also a great place to gather recommendations. So we all know the value of a letter of recommendation when it comes to applying for scholarships or, applying for a job or a position or trying to get on a team of some sort. You can get all of those recommendations in LinkedIn, and they're going to stay there as long as the platform is in existence, so you don't actually have to be shuffling around paper, emailing people things. We want to use LinkedIn as a place where people can go read what others think about you as a professional or as a creative and make their decisions from there. So let's dive in and talk first about the platform itself and the things that you need to optimize in here. So I think you're new to the room, I just want to let you know, if you want to grab a laptop, if you don't have one, we're going to want to be editing our profile on the desktop version because you get access to kind of all the editing features you don't in the app, just so you know. So first and foremost, Your name, pretty important. In this platform, you don't want to mess with that. You want to put your actual name, what you want to be found by. So Bobby's actually a nickname for me. My real name is Roberta, but I don't want anybody to find me by that name, so I don't use it, because I don't use it in my professional world. I don't use it on my website. So I stick with my nickname because that's how people refer to me, and that's what people might be searching for if they were looking. You can use your middle initial if you want to, any other, prefixes, suffixes, things like that. Basically, you want it to be real is my whole point. So if you have some fun name in other social platforms, you're not going to do that here. You're going to go with the legitimate name. The next thing that's really important are the visuals in this platform. So we all know that when we get to anything, whether it's a website that we're looking at for a business or an individual, or looking at someone's business card, we make a decision that fast about whether we want to stay there, whether we find them interesting, or whether we're going to go look elsewhere, right? So we want our visuals to really capture people. So we've got two visuals in LinkedIn that you've got to pay attention to. One is your headshot. Now, if you are sticking around, Kelsey Adams from K Adams Photos doing headshots next door. She'll email those to you. If you don't already have one, she's got a backdrop set up, so like that gray kind of business backdrop. If you don't have a professional photo on there right now and you get one from her, that's awesome, but you don't always have to have that boring professional backdrop. You can also get a photographer or a friend, someone who's really good, and get maybe some lifestyle shots. You can see mine's actually outside because I don't do those boring backgrounds anymore. We actually go out in the community we live in and work in to do our photos. But it needs to be just you. Nobody next to you that you cropped out of the picture, not from a wedding where there's that divide line for whoever you are partying next to, not in your car grabbing a photo so you have one with the seatbelt across, from you, and definitely don't have a LinkedIn profile without your photo. People will think it's fake. They will give you zero consideration whatsoever if you don't have a photo listed up there at all. It also needs to be current. That's not really an issue for most of the people in this room, but I'll tell you, I meet with some people and I meet them on LinkedIn, then I go meet them in person, and the picture's got to be 20 years old, and it's just not a good experience, right? You want to recognize people when you see them. This platform should be a way to build a relationship where we feel like we know somebody. So the photo is really important. The next thing that you guys need to be thinking about is the backdrop photo. The background photo. Now, if you don't do graphic design, there's a platform called Canva. Hopefully everybody maybe has heard about it by now. It will actually, all you do is type in LinkedIn. It'll give you the perfect size to design your backdrop. It'll give you every element you could ever need, and there's a free version for it. So that would be a place you could create that if you wanted to get a little more design in there. But here's the things that we want to really focus on. Obviously, I run a business. My business has services, so that's what's listed there. I want someone to come to my profile, know exactly what I do, and there's very little question what I do when you get to my profile. For you guys, you are still maybe in that process of looking for a career, trying to decide what industry you're going into, so you've got some options for that. Let's say you're here at MCC and you want to get a position as a welder. Maybe work something out in your class, ask your instructor or someone else in class to take a picture of you actually working on a welding project. Now your backdrop is you in the industry that you want to be in, actually showing that you've got some skills and that you've done some hands-on in that industry. Same thing if you were here doing some type of healthcare program. You could get photos up there of you in class. Or you could get photos in the backdrop of the industry you're looking to get into. Whatever it is, we don't want it to be something totally unrelated to this. We're trying to build a personal brand in this platform right now. So you don't want to have everything here professional and then throw up a photo of your family outside, right? Because that's really not what your objective is. So think about your goal for LinkedIn and try to make your backdrop match that. If you are a creative person and you know exactly what you want to do, you can have text in there that's, desperately seeking, position in whatever type of firm, right? You could actually put that text up there if you wanted to. But definitely you want to customize those things. Another something that you're going to want to do just to make life easier for you is up there over in your upper corner, it says edit public profile and URL. You can actually create a custom URL with your name. So when you set up your account, it's going to do linkedin.com with a bunch of numbers. As you can see up in the search bar or up in the URL bar, it says linkedin.com/in/Bobby Bainey because I customized that. So that makes it easier for me to then write down that URL if I want someone to come follow me there. It's easier to remember. It actually helps in search. I will tell you, one of the things about really building this out well is that if you apply for a job, they're Googling you, right? We all know that. If you apply for a job, they're going to look you up in Google and see what they find. Almost every time I Google someone, if they've built a LinkedIn profile, that's the first thing that shows up in search. So having a custom URL will help that happen as well. But because we know potential employers are going to do that, we want to make sure this is optimized and looking good and easy to find as well. So you'll want to customize that URL, most likely with your name. Now let's talk about the headline, because this is really, really important in terms of a search function as well. So this little section right here is called our headline. It used to be that people would put what their role was in that space. So you'd see a lot of people putting vice president, president, CEO. Who cares? CEO of what? Like, it really is irrelevant. This space needs to tell people who you are, what you do, where you do it. You want it to be loaded with keywords that are going to help the perfect next employer or collaborator find you and know what you do. Now, one of the little kind of ninja tips we have in here is you can see I have used keywords and I separate them by stars. You can't do that in LinkedIn, but if you just jump over into a notes function, even into Word, and use some special characters, just to make things kind of pop and draw the eye to that, you can copy it and paste it in LinkedIn, and you'll get like those stars or whatever else that you choose to do that kind of speaks to the brand that you're building. So in this space, you are definitely going to want to put, so there's a little formula that you may want to write down that has been recommended for students. So for students, you would first want to put the school you're currently in, right? So you might want to put, like MCC 21 if you're graduating. You're also going to want to put what you're interested in. So looking for, what's that position that you're looking for? Looking for a position in physical therapy in a Chicago area hospital, right? That might be what you're looking for. So just a couple examples to kind of guide you through what this should look like. Once you get a job, and once you actually are really established, this will change. So you're really going to want to audit this, because once you have a position, you're going to talk about the expertise you have in that position. And then in all reality, you're already thinking about your next job, right? What things do I want to highlight in here that will help someone else find me so I get that next job, that next promotion? But for right now, here's a couple examples. MCC 21 graduate, interested in sales position in B2B or e-commerce. Or maybe ISU 21 graduate, looking for sales and marketing position in Japan in international sales or technology manufacturing. MCC 21 grad, interested in social media manager position in California for a major tech company. So if you listen to those, I'm talking about where I want to work, what industry I want to work in, what position that I'm looking for, right? So as a student, you want people to search for you based on those keywords. So that's the type of things I would write in this section for your headline. Now, another thing that's important is, do you have a current position? So it's actually going to say, where's mine say what I do? You can also put in there that you are, obviously that you're a student. And there's places like right here, this links to the company that I work for. If you work anywhere, you can link to there. You can also link to MCC. So I have one of the colleges I attended listed there. You could put MCC and it will actually show up on your profile. So people will see where you work or that you're a student and where you're going to. So it's a quick reference for people searching about you. There is a section in here for location. So as you're filling all of this out, right now, obviously, I'm not in edit mode, but if I click that little pencil, that's how you edit this profile. It's going to ask you where your location is. So right now, we're in McHenry, and if you want to stay working in this area, or you still aren't close to graduating yet and you're going to be here for a little while, then you would list whatever town it is that you live in. But in some of those examples I gave you, say you know that after college, you want your position to be out on the West Coast. You can actually, even though you're in McHenry now, change that location to where it is you want to go. So people in that region are able to find you. So if you do not plan on staying in Illinois to work, be sure you let people know where it is that you're going to be. And then also, when you talk about the industries that you want to work in, if you're not really sure, I just want to let you know that being vague is actually really okay. As long as you have enough keywords in there to grab the attention of people, you don't have to know exactly what sector you want to work in. You just need to know what it is that you want to do, and you can be a little bit more generic, and it'll actually probably get more people coming to your profile trying to learn a little bit more about whether you're qualified for whatever it is that they're looking for. There's also a section to change your contact information. And I want to make sure, so this is the thing that I think everyone at some point has to kind of grow up and do. I have a niece that worked for me, and she was in high school. She had some silly email, right? You know, some silly thing at gmail.com. And then as soon as she started working for me, and we were actually having people correspond with her, we realized that really looks awful. So make sure that you have, at this stage, a professional email account to share for businesses. So if you've used the same email account since junior high, and you know, squeezy breezy 22 is not what you want to put on your LinkedIn, maybe time to open up a new email account that has maybe just your name and sounds professional. Make sure that you do that. Same with your voicemail. So it's going to ask you for your phone number, and recruiters may want to talk to you. So, and a lot of people don't respond to their messages in LinkedIn quickly, so you do want to make sure you've got a phone number available. And then make sure that your voicemail is set up to accept a phone call from a recruiter or an employer, right? So that it's, you know, not if you have a fun recording and you're really just used to getting calls from family and friends, time to switch that up as well too when you start optimizing this section. Now, I'm going to kind of scroll through here a little bit. There is a section that is all about you. So I want to kind of talk a little bit about this right here too. So this about section is also something that you need to fill out. And this is really your way of communicating to anybody looking at your profile who you really are, what you're passionate about, what you're looking to do, what your experiences so far have been. The format I have in mind is really more for a professional that's already looking for leads that says, here's why we should work together. So once you get a position, or if you're an entrepreneur, there's kind of a couple different models you can use. But as a student, I kind of wanted to go over what your professional summary should look like. So you want to start out by saying who you are. You could literally start out this section going, I am about to graduate MCC in spring of 2022. I live in Crystal Lake. You know, I'm currently working at whatever. You know, have some previous experience doing blah, blah, blah. So literally talk a little bit about yourself, right? Like just those basics of who you are, where you're living. You know, if you have a family situation you want to put in there, you could. Then the next paragraph, you want to talk about what you're passionate about. So we know that employers want to hire people that love what they do. So we want to convey in this section what it is that we love to do, why it is we love to do it, what our goals are for the future in this industry, what type of industry you're looking to get into. This is another paragraph where you could once again, tell people where you're looking to be relocated. So if you wanted to go to another part of the country or the globe, let them know in here. You're going to be telling them basically what are the types of positions you're qualified for and that you're most looking forward to getting. And then you can do a paragraph with other information that you want to share. Now, one of the things that really makes it easy for people to go through this section is if you think about using bullet points and keywords. So bullet points, nobody really wants to read anymore. So you can see even when I'm trying to get across some main points, I don't write them in paragraph form. I put those in bullet points. So you may want to share a few things. You can use some special characters to break up the text. But you definitely want to make sure that you're including that. And then one recommendation I have is at the very bottom, after you've kind of written out the things that you expect people to kind of read that have a little bit of emotion in them that kind of convey your personal brand, is you want to think of all the skills that you have, and at the bottom you can do a little section just in keywords. I don't know if I have one on mine. Oh, I do. So something like this, so specialties, and you could call it whatever you'd like. You could call it, you know, skills, whatever. List a bunch of skills right there that will make your profile more searchable for the types of things that you already know to do. So If you're in the nursing program, you may have some certifications you've earned that you might want to list there. It can be repetitive. It can be things that are going to be in other parts of your profile, but go ahead and include those keywords in this section as well. It's going to get you found a lot more easily. There is also a section down here, let me close this out, called featured. So for me, my featured content are the blogs that we create in our business. But if you were a student here at MCC and maybe you've got a digital portfolio of projects you've worked on, maybe you're in an art program and you've actually got, some digital assets that you can share or link to, or maybe you've built a website because that's the career you're looking to go into, you can feature different links here. So if you have anything online that you want to draw the attention of a prospective employer to, make sure you include that here in this featured section. It will definitely do a ton to and we're going to talk a little bit about writing things as well, and that's another section that may show up. And then we're going to get down to, actually, where's the skills? Why am I not finding them? Oh, skills and endorsements. This is another section I want to make sure that you add at least 5 skills in here. So if I were to go in and click add a skill, they'll actually pull up some ideas, but you should already have in your mind things that you know are skills of yours. So programs that you know how to work, software programs you've interacted with, whatever skills it is you've obtained in your education, at least list 5 of them. So LinkedIn, just like every other social platform, has an algorithm. And anytime they're asking you questions and asking you to fill information out on your profile, the more complete your profile is, the higher you're going to actually rank in those algorithms. So they take people that are serious about building their LinkedIn profile, building their personal brand a little more serious than someone that threw a little info and didn't complete it. They want to give that end user that's searching for you a good qualified candidate or resource. And so make sure you fill out as much as you possibly can as you go through all these different sections, and at least 5 endorsements. Now, skills. Now you can see it says take a skill quiz. There are certain skills that LinkedIn will actually quiz you on before they will list that skill on your profile. So let's say you are really good at Excel. You can actually go in here and take a little quiz on doing things in the Excel platform, and if you pass, you'll get a little badge, and they'll consider that a skill, and then someone looking for someone that has that skill, you're more likely to show up, right? So that's a great way to get noticed as well. And then one other section that's incredibly important in here are the recommendations. So this is something that actually requires work, but we talked about these being basically like letters of recommendations. These are not one paragraph reviews. Recommendations, when people leave them in LinkedIn, are typically as if they were writing a letter for your next employer. The thing about it is, nobody really thinks to write you a recommendation unless you ask. So it's a really good strategy, and when you get to working on this, to create a list of people who could leave a recommendation for what it's like to work with you. What you may ask a teacher. Maybe you're in a club at school, and you may ask whoever leads the club. You may even ask some of your peers. You may ask employers. But the reality is, you have to ask, or people probably aren't going to do it. The more recommendations you have, again, that feeds into the algorithm, helps you get found more by someone looking for the skill set that you have. It's really going to be a ranking factor, but it also builds a ton of credibility for you. So a potential employer comes to your LinkedIn page and you've got 5 recommendations versus none. It says a lot about you, right? It says a lot about the effort that you're willing to take to build your personal brand. It also says a lot about what people think about you, and they know what to expect in hiring you. So really important that become part of your strategy. Obviously not something you can fill out today, but something that you should. Now there's all kinds of other sections that I went through, and LinkedIn will guide you through this, but things that I just want you to remember that you should be adding in here are experiences, so job experiences that you've had. Your educational experiences will go here. So if you've gone to other colleges besides MCC, or if from here you're going to go to somewhere else, make sure you're always updating your LinkedIn. I really recommend like kind of building in a schedule where at least once a month you jump in your profile and actually look and say, is there anything that I should be adding? Or, oh, I did that team project. I could actually put that in here in the project section because I worked on it the entire semester. If you volunteer anywhere, there is a volunteer section in here as well. And we all know that volunteering, you know, is one of those aspects of your personality that schools like to see, that employers like to see. So be sure to add that in as well. There's also...
Did you say you put that under education? Or
no, there's a section just for volunteer experience. You can add it right in there. There's a section for licenses and certifications. So if you've had to get any certifications up to this point, you can list them in there as well. And again, all of these things are just ways to, you know, for them to really vet what you've got going on. And then there is also an accomplishments section. Where is that section at? I was losing it today. Right here, where you can list some other things. So if you belong to any clubs here at school, put that in the organizations section, or if you belong to any organizations outside of school, but that aren't actual employment, include those in there. If you've been published in anything, list those as well. So if you've written a book or you've been featured in a magazine or in an article, you can include that there. Any awards and honors that you've received should definitely be listed here. Again, those build a ton of credibility for you and as an individual. So don't be afraid to toot your own horn in this platform. It's really important. And then, like I said, projects that you maybe have gotten into, whether it's a project at school, a project at your church, a project in a political campaign, whatever it is that you've done. Find a place for all of those kind of out-of-the-box experiences you've had to go into your LinkedIn profile. Does anybody have any questions so far? Yeah.
You showed one that was just for projects, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay to keep repeating? Like,
absolutely.
okay. I would, for me, I would feel like I'd be putting too repetitive information.
So,
like, you already said that.
so if you've got like one project, I guess you could, I would put it in both places, because for one thing, people may not read everything. They may glance over and just see how things are filled out. You want to make sure you've got those important things in your summary, and then there's usually another opportunity to list them here as well. So I wouldn't say you're saying the same thing like 3-4 times, but you could definitely put it in the summary and then put it in the section that it's located in, for sure. And so then before we jump in and start editing them, I wanted to share a few best practices with you. So for really managing this platform, because like with any social media platform whatsoever, just creating it is never enough. Just because you have a LinkedIn, if you're not active on it, if you're not keeping it current, if you're not building connections, it's really just sitting there stagnant and it's not working for you. So some of the things that you want to do is I would really recommend jumping in here almost daily, but at least 3 times a week, especially if you're serious about trying to build a network. You need to build a network now, because by the time you graduate and you're done and you're looking for a job, that type of work actually takes time, right? You don't just, you don't open your TikTok and you've got 10,000 followers, right? It takes time to build up an audience. So you're going to want to spend time every day connecting with people. So you may want to start connecting with people that you know, and there's options in here. You can connect to your contact list and find out anybody that is in your contact list that also has a LinkedIn profile. So you're likely connecting with family, friends, maybe professors, that sort of thing. Then you're going to want to look into your industry. So who are the big players in the industry that you want to get into? Who are those big influencers in that space, or those big brands? Go follow them as well. So you want to create a connection with those types of individuals. You want to follow company pages to kind of stay on top of what's happening in the industry. But one of the things that I think is really important is when you make a connection with somebody, You could just click the button and it just says connect. They get a notification. Bobby wants to connect with you. If they don't know me, who cares, right? So try to always personalize that request and let them know. So maybe I would send somebody a message and say, I'm Bobby Bainey and I'm getting ready to graduate from junior college. I'm really interested in getting a position in social media, and I would love the opportunity to learn a little bit more about your company as I'm deciding where I want to apply. I saw you on LinkedIn, and I'd love to build that connection to learn a little bit more. Aren't they a lot more likely to accept that than if you just clicked connect and they know nothing about you? Nobody's got time to go click through and look at your profile and what you're all about to make that decision. So customize that invite every time. Tell them why you want to connect. Tell them what's in it for them. Tell them what's valuable to you, and you're much more likely to build a network. Yeah?
So just so I understand, you're saying that by adding the little blurb in there when you make the connection, they're more likely to accept your follow request?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely, because they know why they should, or else you're just some stranger. And everyone's got a different philosophy in LinkedIn. Like for me, I accept any request I get typically. I'm building a large network. That's just, what it is. But for some people, they're very tight-knit about who they're going to actually have a connection with, because they know then they got to read all your stuff in their news feed. And if they don't find you interesting, why would they want to do that? So yeah, definitely let them know what that's all about. Another thing that you want to do is join groups. So LinkedIn will make recommendations for groups. By belonging to groups actually boosts you in that algorithm as well. So I don't know what the factors are today, to be honest, but they used to say if you had 500, you wanted to have at least 500 connections on LinkedIn, which is one of the reasons why you need to start building that network now, but at least 500 connections and belong to, it was some stupid number of groups, a ton of groups. But they do factor that in terms of how active are you on LinkedIn, how part of the community are you willing to be, and those things help you to get found more easily when someone's looking for someone with your skill set as well. Another thing that you need to do is post content on LinkedIn. So I have kind of a little story, and I love this story because it's about my own kids thinking I don't know anything. So I have a daughter who is, she went to Milwaukee School of Engineering. She is a nurse. And when she got out of college, she's one of these super organized people. Wants a process for everything. She's a rock star. But she was working in a clinic and really, really frustrated by their processes. And she knew they were wasting a tremendous amount of money the way they were onboarding new nurses and not retaining staff. And she actually had a solution. So she's calling me every day complaining about, wanting to get out of this place and wanting to be a thought leader and, facilitate change and all this stuff. So my advice to her, I said, well, one, you need to get a new job. Have you updated your LinkedIn? No, it doesn't even matter. So here she is actually working. She's still got her profile pictures in the car with the seatbelt and a college t-shirt on. Not professional at all. So I forced her to go in and do some editing. And then my next suggestion to her was take all this frustration that you're feeling and all of these thoughts that you have and write an article about it. And she thought that was actually really stupid, but she did it. So when you are in LinkedIn, I just want to show you this. You can start, so there's a couple options. You can write just a regular post, but you can also write an article. So a post is like the kind of things we see in Facebook and Instagram, right? Piece of content, maybe a graphic, maybe a link, but an article is more substantial. It's more like you're writing a blog or submitting an article to some type of publication. The cool thing about articles is they become part of this conglomerate of information in LinkedIn that's searchable. So people who are looking for information could actually come across your article. So my daughter wrote an article about, she's a Disney fanatic, so she actually, the picture was Moana, because in articles you can actually put big photos and you can create links and you can do formatting and all kinds of cool things that you can't do in a post. You can format it just like you were in Word, right? So she writes this article about the things that she thought were really holding down, these types of clinics from having, providing good service. The cool thing about it is she had hundreds of people read that article. She got hundreds of new connection requests after she wrote it, and all of them were doctors, medical hospital facilitators. Like, they were high-level individuals who looked at her article and were like, wow, look at this. You know, at the time she's 19 or 20, writing this cool article. There were all kinds of feedback and comments. Today, since she followed it up with a second article, got similar results. About 6 months later, she got a job offer. She is now like 20-some years old, and she is already overlooking a whole unit at Condell Hospital, overseeing doctors. Like, she's absolutely crushing it. And she really started it by positioning herself as a thought leader and breaking through what, you know, oh, I'm just a nurse working in a clinic, I just graduated, what do I know? She took it on and she talked about it. And having that content did a couple of things. It got the attention of some high influential individuals. It also optimized her LinkedIn. Now she didn't just have information filled out, but she had an article that she could highlight. So there was actually content there that she was published. And it did a tremendous amount in getting her attention, building the right network, and getting her next job. So if you do not make creating content as part of your strategy, nobody's actually finding you, and you're kind of falling out of favor in LinkedIn's algorithm because you've got no content to show up in the feed or to show up in search for people to know what it is that you're passionate about and why are you going to be a great employee. So I would say you should be publishing content. I mean, depending how serious you are about looking for a job, if you are ready to get hired, you should be publishing content on a daily basis. There are all kinds of things you can do. You can talk about things happening in the industry. You can do things to inspire other people in your situation. You can talk about challenges or things that you've learned within this industry as time's gone on. So come up with ideas, but you really need to get content in there. And I'll tell you, not enough people are using video on LinkedIn, so if you really want to stand out, create video content. Even if you're doing short videos introducing yourself, talking about, you know, things that you know in the industry, things that perplex you in the industry, things you think need to be improved. Video content will definitely make you stand out. And then spend time in the feed as well, responding to other content that other people have put up here. So as you choose to connect with people, they're going to start to show up in your news feed. If you really want to have a relationship with them, they need to see you pop up once in a while. Every time you like something or you create a comment, that individual gets a notification. So that's a way that you're actually building that relationship back and forth with people. So you can't forget that as well. And we talked about, you know, using the DM. Once you get connected with someone, and I hate this, I'll accept a connection, and, you know, I would say this is probably about like 50% of the time. I immediately have a DM, and they're trying to sell me something literally 10 seconds after they told me their name, which is a terrible strategy. If you really want to connect with someone and they accept that connection request and your goal is to sell them something, do a little romance first, you know, don't dive in for the kill right away because it really turns people off. But even if you just go in after they accept it and send a little message and thank them, like, I'm really looking forward to connecting, you know, now that I can go read the rest of your profile, I'm interested in, you know, your expertise, whatever. So little thank yous in the DM are a great way to grab someone's attention. Just don't be spammy. So that being said, what I want to do now is let you guys dive into doing some of this work in your profile, and then I will be here to help you if you have any questions. We really are hoping that you get to leave kind of with your LinkedIn profile all optimized. And then I do have, if anyone's interested, I didn't get to print these all out, so I built a little messenger bot for it instead, but LinkedIn published a nice little LinkedIn profile checklist that you could kind of keep in your desk to make sure you're always doing that. If you'd like a copy of this, come on up here and let me know. You can scan my QR code. It'll just send it to you right in Messenger if you want it. So let me know if you want this sheet, and then you can come up and I'll tell you what you need to do to get it. All right? So let me know if you've got any questions, you guys, and let's get started. I know some of you didn't even have a profile and are just getting ready, but let's really focus on getting this headline done and getting kind of that summary set up for you, and any of those other things we can talk about.